Okay, this is a problem that we had back last chapter that we couldn't do graphically because there's too many unknowns. But now we can do it using the simplex method. So first thing I need you to do is set this word problem up. We've been doing this. You need to be able to do it. Okay? So I need you to pause me because I want you to set up the table. I need to know what the column headings are, row headings, and fill it up. And when you get done with that, then unpause me and see if you end up with the same thing I do. So after you read this, we know this manufacturer has outdoor equipment, and you go through here, you know there's bags, jackets, and packs. But the biggest thing, remember, is the how many. How many of each item. So they are referring to the bags, jackets, and packs. So those are my column headings, where X sub 1 will be the sleeping bags, X sub 2 is going to be number of down jackets, and X sub 3 is going to be my backpacks. Okay? And as you read through here, you will notice that there were some availability issues, so might as well go ahead and have the availability column. So number of yards of material required for bags, jackets, and packs. So here they're giving us the information a little bit different, where they're telling us about actually one row. So first thing they talk about is number of yards. So let me move this down some. Of material. I did 4, 2, and 1.5. 100 yards of material available, so less than or equal to 100. The other thing we know is number of hours of labor. Okay. And the availability there is 40 hours. Last thing is the profit. So profit will be my last line, and we have $15 for sleeping bag, 20 for down jackets, and 18 for backpacks. And from before, that line that does not have an availability associated with it, that will be what I need to either maximize or minimize. So next thing I need you to do is write down your constraints. Now every bit of this I will be looking for. So write down your constraints that go with this table. And pause me please, and then check and see if you end up with what I've got. And after you have the linear inequalities and what you're trying to maximize, then you're going to have to change it over to get it ready to go in the first simplex tableau. So add your slack variables and fix that objective function and see if it looks like this. And if you're okay with that, well, next thing we always did after this was we put it into a matrix. And also remember to have those headings so that you'll get everybody associated in the correct place. So see if you're okay with that. Now, go pick your pivot before I do. Most negative is right here. So that's where I'm coming in at. I've got to go do my quotients. I'm going to have 100 divided by 2 and 40 divided by 4. I choose the smallest, so this one will be the smallest, so that's where my arrow's coming in. So that means this is going to be my pivot. So let me go get me a circle. Okay, now go and write down the steps, because the steps for me are just as important as you being able to do it. So write down the steps to make the pivot value a 1 and everything else in the column a 0. Pause me right now because I'm going to go ahead and open up what I did. So I've got to do 1/4 times row 2 to get my new row 2. I've got to make this position a 0 and this position a 0. Now if you come up with this, put it into your matrix and see what you come up with, and see if you end up with what I do. If you do, well, I guess we got to keep going. I see more yellow boxes, so that means there's more things that are associated with this. But notice there is a negative in my bottom row, which means I've got to go again. So let me get my arrow coming up. Do your necessary quotients. Okay. Decide which one is the smallest, and that's your arrow coming in from the side. And hopefully you picked that one. Looks like I need to move it up a little bit. Uh-oh. I like my arrows where they can go. There we are. So now this arrow is meeting right here. So let me borrow a circle. So here's my new pivot. So go pivot. Go do what you need to do in order to make this position a 1 and everything else a 0. So write down your steps and see if you end up with this. But do it first before you undo mine. And if you do, then go to your calculator, start putting these steps in, and then see if you end up with the following. No zeros in the bottom row. Oh, gag. No negatives in the bottom row. So that means this is my final matrix. So x sub 1 is going to be 0. X sub 2 is going to be 0. X sub 3 is going to be 20. S sub 1 is going to be 70. S sub 2 is 0. And my maximum profit here is 360. So from this right here, if I go back up and look, X sub 1 is sleeping bags, X sub 2 is down jackets. So with respect to the linear inequalities that we have, or they're working in under, they shouldn't make any sleeping bags or down jackets. If they want to maximize their profit, then they need to focus on the backpacks. Another thing I want you to see here, remember S sub 1 and S sub 2 are in a way artificial variables because we put it into the matrix so that we can do the Gauss-Jordan procedure, quote unquote, on. Well, S sub 1 was with respect to my material. Remember, we added S sub 1 here. So guys, this is just like they're not using 70 yards of that fabric. So maybe they need to cut back on that. You know, there's some other things here that we deal with slack variables, not in this class, but later on they do look at the slack variables and see where they might be able to modify to maybe help their profit. Okay? But you putting this box here does not answer the question. I need it written out. So this manufacturer should make 20 backpacks for a maximum profit of $360 with respect to the constraints that they are currently working under. So right after 360 would be sufficient, but you know, that's technically what is going on. So that's all for this particular video. You got some word problems to do, but every bit of this, the table, writing out the constraints, changing them over, adding slack variables, the matrix, all of this you're going to have to be able to do for me. Thank you.